Hey everybody, welcome back to the FSN Education Center. My name is Hannah, and today we're going to be trying out a lot of different florist tips and tricks. So over the years, a lot of florists will just kind of collect interesting little tidbits for the flowers. Like for instance, let's get started with our tulips. So whenever you put tulips in the water, some people will prefer to treat their water with maybe a cup full of bleach and a little cup full of Sprite. A lot of florists do that, and it's to help fight back bacteria and will help preserve the flowers live a little bit longer. Another trick that people will do is they'll peel back the petals, and that'll give it kind of a unique and interesting different design. But for today's trick, we're going to do something even simpler. We're going to take a penny that we have just out of anybody's wallet, and we're going to put it in our vase. Now the vase helps contain the water with this penny, and as long as we have these tulips, we'll just keep that penny in the vase. This is supposed to help with the tulips, keep them long and strong and tall, as well as keep the water nice and fresh. Now, I'm not particularly sure why we do it in only the tulips as against to every single other one, but that's just another wives' tale for tulips specifically. But it's supposed to help clear the water and keep it clear. So, there's your trick on tulips. Now, our next tip comes with these ranunculus. So, these ranunculus are quite lovely, but sometimes they have a tendency to kind of droop over. So, while that doesn't necessarily mean that the stem is bad, it just means that the stem is maybe not as stable as something a little bit taller or a little bit stronger. So our tip with the ranunculus is we're going to take a very fine wire, and this is mostly if you're doing like a project that needs a lot of structure, or if you're doing a bouquet and you want to make sure that it doesn't slump over or fall apart or anything like that. You're going to take your wire, you're going to separate these petals just a little bit to make sure that you can find the center. You're going to find the center, feel for it. There you go. And you're going to push it down into the stem. If it doesn't work from the very top, then you can also do it from the bottom. Now, whenever you do it from the bottom, make sure to give it just an even cut. You don't have to cut it at an angle for this moment. Then we're going to feed our wire through the flower, through the stem. We're going to make sure that we don't pop it out of the actual flower, out of the stem. So we're just going to lead it along. We're going to slowly but carefully push it through. And voila! You can see it through the top, kind of coming through right there. So you don't want it to come out and show the actual tip of the wire. So you can just push that down a little bit into the flower, or if you still have it down from below, then you can just sink it back in a little bit. But see how that gave that so much more structure? It's not necessarily tipping over every single time that we move it. It's a lot better. So we're going to want to make sure that we cut our wire, and you can cut the flower at an angle at this point. And now if you were to have an arrangement that you wanted asymmetrical and you wanted it to bend kind of interestingly, you can bend it from any kind of angle. You can have it sit down at the bottom like this, or if you wanted it nice and tall, you can keep it nice and tall, just like that. So that's our tip for our ranunculus. Now for a trick for carnations and lisianthus. A carnation in and of itself is quite lovely. But if you want it to look a little bit different, like a lisianthus, I once saw a designer pull the inside of a carnation out and give it a similar look. So, in order to do that, we're just going to spread the petals out a little bit toward the middle. Then we're going to pluck out just a few of the petals. We don't want to take too many because we don't want it to look bare, but we do want to kind of showcase the nice green on the inside and the little white boulders there. See, and now you have a different looking kind of carnation. It doesn't look quite as pom-pomish as before, but it does look a little bit different on the inside, and it looks a little bit more like a lisianthus. Our next trick is with a hydrangea. Now, hydrangeas are notorious for being very bad players with water. Now, it's a little hard for it to be watered and to keep sufficient watering, but sometimes they'll wilt, even if they're put in just the right amount of water. So with a hydrangea, we always have to keep in mind whenever we're processing the flowers themselves, how to cut them. So let's do that again today. Whenever you cut your hydrangea, make sure to cut it at a very high angle, just so that way it gets the most square footage of water that could possibly go inside. Now, you're going to want to cut all the way through the middle, or sometimes people will crush the stem in order to add in more water. So we can crush it as well. Just crush a little bit. So you see how that opened up quite a bit of area for the water to go in and to be taken in. Now, wilting with hydrangeas is almost inevitable, but one thing that you can do is you can have a little bit of a wrap, and you can lay it on top, and you'll want to wrap the stem and the actual flower head quite closely. So you'll want to make sure that all the petals are nice and soft, but also nice and closed. And you'll wrap it very carefully. But you'll want all of the petals to be quite close. Now once you have it nice and tight and wrapped up just like this, you're going to want to take a large vase full of very hot water. You're going to want this water to be quite hot and to not have anything in it. So no quick dip, no solution of any kind. You'll want it to be very hot, and you'll put the stem in the water. Now where you'll take this vase is you'll actually take it to the fridge or to a very cool room. You're going to put this in a cool space, and the temperature and everything will react with it, and the flowers will come back to life. Our last trick is with lilies. So as we know, lilies are a little more docile of a flower, and they're very pungent. So with lilies, we want to make sure that whenever we have them open and when they're starting to open, that we pull these tiny little pieces right here, right on out, especially before they start to droop and before they start to fall with all the pollen in them. We do this so that way it doesn't stain the actual petals in the arrangement, and it allows it to just open up very wide, very long, and you don't see any of the debris that falls onto the table afterwards. Another tip for if your flowers are not quite opening like this one is to take the lily itself, much like this if it hasn't opened, and you'll want to put it in a warm area. These lilies need a lot of warmth and a lot of sunlight to open to look exactly like this. So you'll want to put these in a warm area, particularly with a warm water in the actual base, just to get them to open. These two are just a few steps away. All right, and there we have it. These are all these tricks from my shop into yours. This is the FSN Education Center. My name is Hannah, and I'll see you next time.